Also had the chance to sit down with composer and musician Joe Becker. He's worked on films such as Creakers, Cellar's Secret, and Leaf Blower Massacre 2.
Wow.
Yeah.
I would like to hear this conversation.
Okay, well, I will give you the first part of the conversation because it's quite a lengthy conversation, and then we'll come back next week with more of it.
Ooh.
Thanks for welcoming me on your show, man.
Of course, always a pleasure to have people on to talk about what they're working on. And what do you have coming up for us? What are some musical projects you've got on the horizon?
I got like 50 of them. It's great. Business is
all right.
good.
Well, what have you got? Let's go specifically film related. What have you got? What films have you been working with lately?
Film related, I got Curse of the Slasher Nurse, which is available, I think, the first week in November.
Okay.
And that's a Dave Kerr project. And matter of fact, it just debuted a couple days ago, and it's a pretty sweet thing. It's like one of those classic '80s. Like a cross between Friday the 13th and Halloween and Freddy Krueger and all of that good stuff, right?
That is exactly.
And I like that kind of 80s feel, and that's why when you look at my history of movies I've done, that they always have like kind of a weird name, like Leaf Blower Massacre 2.
Oh yeah, I remember that one.
That one hasn't come out yet.
No, I must. Okay, I must have seen the first one then.
Yeah, I saw the first one.
Yeah, I know I've seen a Leaf Blower Massacre. At least one.
Well, are you thinking of that or Nail Gun Massacre?
I've seen Nail Gun also.
That's how that project started. There was a Nail Gun Massacre, and the filmmaker of Leaf Blower Massacre saw it and became inspired and gained permission to use the exact same character and create other movies. So it's the same character from Nail Gun Massacre who's now doing Leaf Blower Massacre, or did Leaf Blower Massacre, and is now doing Leaf Blower Massacre 2, which I just scored.
Okay.
That actually premieres, I'm legally obligated to state that premieres on November 11th at the Bensonville Theater in Bensonville, Illinois.
I was going to say, it's pretty safe guess at the Bensonville Theaters in Bensonville. Yeah.
Zip code 60106, so if you want to come out and check it out, anybody who hears this and that's local to the area is ready to do that. I'm going to be there. Come on out.
How do you approach scoring a film? I mean, do you get some ideas ahead of time, just thinking, okay, this is a Leaf Blower Massacre, I want these types of sounds? Or do you wait until you see something and go?
That's kind of it. And my situation is a lot different than most composers out there, because I've always been into these types of films, the horror films, the B-movie films, weird films like that. I've been a collector of movies. My background is kind of as a hobbyist, but my personal time has always been into this stuff. So if you tell me that your film is called Leaf Blower Massacre 2, and I watch it, I kind of immediately know how it needs to sound.
Okay.
That makes sense. Again, this is another throwback to 80s horror and stuff like that. So it just for me to see it, I already know how it should sound as I'm watching it, and I just do that, and then it works.
So you're going for kind of a John Carpenter sound to it?
I wouldn't give John Carpenter that much credit, honestly.
Okay.
I'd give him credit as a filmmaker, but as a musician, that's a whole nother story. Not that he ever did a bad job or anything, but I'm a different, animal from him. So.
Okay.
And then I also got what's coming out real soon is The Date, which is on actually. This is really cool because Chris Ambritz, what he did was he wanted to produce a film, but he could not come up with a topic that lasted for 2 hours, right, to release through, your normal distribution channels. If somebody's going to buy a movie, they want a 2-hour movie, right?
Yeah.
But what he could do was create a bunch of shorts and link them together, kind of creep show style. right?
Nice.
Or Twilight Zone style.
Yeah,
So
an anthology film.
Yeah, that's exactly what he did. So I'm actually on 2 movies coming out in just the fact that I'm in the one. The one is The Date, which is a vampire. It's these chicks that are vampires, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not going to say anything more about that, but that's one of the stories that's on the Muerte Tales of Horror film, which is cool. So and I think the Date will get released as its own thing in one way, and then that also becomes part of the Creepshow style compilation, which is the entire DVD that's going to come out, that's pretty wicked.
That is pretty awesome. Let's talk nerdy tech stuff. What sort of recording do you use? How do you record your material?
Well, it depends on what I'm recording. I have a recording studio. It's in my basement.
Okay.
And it actually accommodates live recordings, direct into the board recordings. So like if you contacted me and you said, hey, I need drums for this scene, well, I have a drum set, and then there's a mixer that has a bunch of microphones pointing at all different areas of the drum set, which I can adjust and blend, and that runs low Z all the way across the room to the main mixer, which then goes into my computer, and I can do whatever I want. I mean, how technical do you want to get?
I'll go as technical as you want to, or as you're comfortable going, because right now I've got I'm running my condenser mics into my USB mixer. From there, I'm going into Reaper, and I'll mix from there. Mm-hmm. So, what sort of software do you use? How do you approach it? Where do you do most of your EQ?
I'm a PC guy. I'm not a Mac guy. Mac sucks.
Same here. Yes, they do.
I'm a PC guy. So I'm of the school of thought that Mac sucks.
Yep.
So I record using Steinberg Cubase and Wavelab and some of their other products. It's all PC based. It's pretty much, to me, in my opinion, Cubase is about as close to a sound-on-sound, reel-to-reel as you can get digitally, the way it operates.
Okay.
It's very intuitive. So that's what I use, software-wise. Hardware, you always change out the hardware.
Yeah.
If I'm going to record a guitar, I can go direct into the board, or I can mic it. If I'm going to mic it, I have a bunch of amplifiers in my basement and some nice microphones I throw in front of them. If I'm going to go direct in, I have some outboard processors like the Digitech Artist. I'll just plug into that and plug direct into the board, and I'm good. I'm not going to get any noise or anything like that. And I'll have a nice strong signal, and I'll dial in a tone, and everything sounds well. Even has like cabinet simulators and things like that. The stuff you need,
Mm-hmm.
If it's bass, I can do the same thing. If it's piano, I kind of switch off. It depends on how clean I want the sound and how nice of a patch I can get either from my synth or the board, or if I just want to utilize the tone generator that's inside my sound card, right?
Yeah.
So I can compose something at work when I'm at work, and I can pull up my software and I can just type in notes and I can email it to myself, and then when I get home, I can have my computer play it, and then I can select a patch for the notes I've selected that sounds like I want it to sound at that moment. So I can totally do like soft synth and whatever after the fact. After all, I've done the work of what notes go in what order at what time, right?
Right. What instrument did you start off with? Which one was your first pick? Your first love at?
Guitar was my first instrument.
What drew you to that?
My dad played guitar and he sang and he recorded and he was on the radio and stuff and was doing stuff. So and I just wanted to be like him when I was a little kid.
That would do it.
My uncle, he was also in a pretty well-known band back in the 60s. My other uncle was in a very well-known band back in the 60s. This was family. And so all these people came to the house, and I just thought, oh, well, this is what people do. when you're 4 years old,
Mm-hmm.
you just go, oh, well, everybody, well, that's how you work, right? You play. I didn't know any better.
Yeah.
So I started learning how to play, and I learned over the years how to manipulate, like my dad's equipment and how to multi-track and how to properly operate around a microphone and all that other good stuff, right? So,
right. How did you make the jump from just, not just, but playing in a band going to doing film music? Or is it the other way around?
Well, it wasn't that hard of a jump because that's not exactly what happened.
Okay.
I played in bands when I was a kid, and then I quickly discovered that's a road to hell.
Right. That kind of sucks. Yeah.
It doesn't kind of suck. It economically sucks.
Oh yeah.
It labor-wise, it sucks. It sucks about 7 different ways from Sunday. If you were to make a spreadsheet and charge yourself an hourly rate for what your labor in doing this is worth, right?
Mm-hmm.
Say you charge yourself $20 to be in a band. Okay, now start clocking the hours. How long does it take you to learn the catalog? Multiply that times $20 times every hour you took to do that. Now pack up your equipment. How many hours does it take you to do that? Load it up into your car. Multiply that times how long that took. Now travel. Multiply that times how long that took. Now set up. Multiply that times how long that took. Now play your show. Multiply that times how long that took. Now pack up all your crap and load it back in your car. Multiply that times how long that took. Now drive it all home. Multiply that times how long that took. Now set it all back up. Multiply that times how long that took. You're in the hole if you're a live band, unless you're making a lot of money.
Yeah.
Right. So you're pretty much, unless you're working within something like Aerosmith or Metallica or something like that, it's a losing proposition. There's a million guitar players. There's a million bands. Everyone and their mother knows how to do a little something, and you have kind of 2 choices. Either you're literally doing it for fun, or if you want to turn it into a business, you don't do that at all and you do something else.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Trust me, that makes perfect sense. I have stumbled down that road myself.
Yeah, so what I do, or what I started doing, was I started I would do like guest solos and stuff on other people's albums or whatever, and then I started coming out with my own music. I did a whole bunch of compilation CDs where they took my music and they stuck it on the CD with a bunch of other players and put that out and whatever, and that kind of helped push what I was doing on my own anyway. And then getting into the horror movie thing, real simply, basically, the music industry is confused right now, okay, because of the digital world. Anybody can have anything at the touch of a, just click your phone. You can have it. You can steal it. You can download it somewhere without paying anything, whatever. So back from the advent of the MP3, that's where everything really started going downhill, because you used to have only physical mediums that you could get this stuff from, right? Now you can just, if you can figure out a way to steal it, it's yours. Well, so now pretty much the entire world is, where can I click and where can I download and have my thing to play it on whatever my device is, which is great, except for the collectors, right? You still have your collectors that like their physical mediums. You still have your cross collectors. You still have your comic book collectors, your B-movie collectors, your horror movie collectors, you name it. There's still a customer base there that I'm serving currently, but it's a niche market. It's not as niche as some of the prior markets. One of them was just guys that wanted to play, what they call shred guitar. How quick can you play? Yeah. Right? And so a bunch of guys were putting out a bunch of 70-minute albums just full of just like clickery. We're just wanking right now. Right? I put out a couple of entirely instrumental albums, but that's not what I did, but they were still instrumental. still appealing to that crowd and whatever else, but I was trying to make my stuff radio friendly so you could play my stuff on the radio so that your average listener could get it stuck in their head and remember it and be humming it to themselves and want to go buy my stuff, right? My approach was a little different. Well, that entire niche market kind of collapsed. So, like, the resources today for somebody to learn how to play guitar, let alone play guitar fast, are so much more in abundance than they were like when I was growing up, right? I'm an old man now, right? So that's nothing. There's really no interest in it. Nobody's buying those CDs. Nobody's really downloading that stuff. So I had to go into the market that still accepted me, which is the horror movies. People still buy DVDs. People still like horror.
Oh, yeah.
People, so you get your physical copy. You have your cross collectors, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just I just shifted my market a little bit in order to maintain relevance is all I did. And I'll be doing it again probably in 2 years when they come out with a new technology, and now you can get any horror movie that you want, at a click. And nobody wants DVDs anymore. We
are incredibly close to that. I think we are incredibly close to that happening. The film industry is, I think, having their Napster moment out now. But that's my opinion.
Oh, it's definitely coming. Well, there's trauma. Like I did like 90% of the music in a movie that recently came out called Memento Mortis. Yeah. And I didn't get the scoring credit, which kind of pissed me off because somebody else wrote, like, I don't know, a minute of music, and they got the scoring credit, and yet all throughout the movie you hear my music, but there is a difference between those two credits, right? The score writing the score versus the additional music. Mm-hmm. So, like, my name's not on the poster art or anything like that, not even as additional music or anything, right? That angers me a little bit, but whatever. It's still a great movie. I'm so happy to be a part of that project. But the point is, they got signed to Trauma, and the area of Trauma they got signed to is Trauma Now, which is entirely digital, right? So it's like through your Netflix, you can get Trauma Now, and you can go rent that movie right now and hear like probably 50 of my songs throughout the movie, and it's a really cute movie. Like it all works. But yeah, we're on the fringe of movies turning that direction.
Oh, absolutely. I think Netflix and Amazon Prime and YouTube are really pushing things in that direction. And understandably so. That's their bread and butter. But there are still some relatively powerful organizations that kind of like the way things currently are, but I don't know that they can. Nothing stays the same forever. Things are going to change. It's just
you remember though? We used to have Blockbuster. Then that went away. Yeah. You had Redbox. That's either gone away or it's going away extremely soon, right?
Right. Yeah.
Now you just have an app on your phone. You want to see a movie, you can send it to your smart TV. You get to watch the movie.
Yep. Yeah.
We'd like to thank Joe for his time, and remember, next week you can hear the exciting conclusion of our conversation. And we'd like to thank former producer Mike Mullen for setting up the interview.
Yes.
So, John?
Yes.
DVDs and Blu-rays are coming out.
Technically, that is
not necessarily going to help anyone either.
What was that title again?
The Settlers?
The Settlers.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's okay.
So, listeners, did you see Wonderstruck or did you see The Settlers? Please let us know what you thought. Mail at neonmoviebunker.com.
That's right. Now, dear listeners, you may remember that last week I had a chance to sit down with musician and composer Joe Becker, but we were only able to get through half of the conversation just because of how much stuff we talked about. Well, guess what you get now?
Please tell me it's the other half. Please tell me it's that.
You're right, John. It's the other half.
Yay.
So, going back to early influences on you, what sort of scores, you mentioned the Friday the 13th score. What scores really connected with you? What movie music did you listen to and go, damn, I like that?
I've never actually done that ever.
Really?
Yeah, never. No, I'm a horror film fan. So
right.
I just know when I see a certain scene, like, well, okay, if that guy's walking around the corner and about to stab somebody, then there should be some kind of creeping music happening about now. Mm-hmm. And I just kind of, looking at it, I kind of take that direction. And I come up with it in my head with, historically all of the things that I've ever seen. Because there's some weird movies out there. The 80s, old school, weird, like Pin. You ever see Pin?
Oh, God, yeah. Pin. Street Trash.
Street Trash is a great one. That's the one where they're throwing the dick around the junkyard there, playing keep away from the guy. Yep.
There's some amazing weird movies out there.
That's the stuff that I compose for. I don't compose for anything that's kind of normal. I'm not going to do that.
Okay.
Unless you have a cool title like Leaf Blower Massacre 2, I'm not doing it. So, it's entirely a choice thing.
Absolutely. So, do you stick with some of these movies have really out there content, really out there visuals. Do you stick to pretty straightforward, normal instrumentation, or do you like to add something a little weird in there too?
Well, on keys, I have different tone generators that I can access from different synths. So if I feel the need for like a really weird sound, then I can access that, and I have sound banks of thousands of different sounds that I can access, and I'll just scroll through until I find the right one. That's kind of a no-brainer.
Excellent.
Except for it sucks when you have to do the work, because then you have to sit there for an hour going, where's that sound? Wait, no, I'm on sound 342, right? No, that's not it. And then so that part kind of sucks because sounds are kind of limitless. But.
What have you ever written a song for something and then it pops up someplace else and you weren't expecting it?
Yeah, as a matter of fact. And I wasn't expecting that question. That's kind of funny. Basically, when I started doing the movie stuff, that was like in 2004, I think. And it was for a company called X Posse. And that's run by Gino McGahee. And we made an agreement where I would give him one song for his first movie, which was called Evil Awakening. Okay? And it was kind of like a post-high school / college, movie, first attempt at whatever. And if they were going to do anything, they were going to make it like a movie that was so bad it was good, right? That was their goal.
Okay.
So I give them a song, and they do the movie, and they're telling me that they're doing a second movie. And I wasn't talking with Gino at the time. I was talking with a different guy. I'm like, hey, kind of get into that second movie, which is called Rise of the Scarecrows. And he goes, oh, yeah. In the end, he was like, yeah, no, we just couldn't fit you in. Like, okay. So basically that was the end of that until I think it was last year sometime. All of a sudden, my distributor sends me an email notice saying that they stopped the publishing of this movie called Rise of the Scarecrows coming out because it contained 2 of my pieces.
Huh.
And I'm going, what is this about, right? So immediately I reached back out to the distributor. I go find out, who's doing what here, whatever, get back to me. And they give me the info, and it's from this place called Cinema Epoch, which is a new. Well, it's not exactly new. It's run by a guy named Greg Katana, which is he's a old school. He knows what he's doing. Okay. This is his new company, right? Well, it turns out that his one of his heads of purchasing is Gino McGahee, who created the movie, and apparently they did wind up using 2 of my songs. I contacted Gino and I said, "Hey man, I was told you guys never used anything in this movie," and he's like, "No, we did. We used 2 of them." I'm like, "Well, could we get back into our deal? Where the hell are my promo copies and so on? You know, yada yada yada." And kind of move forward from there. So yeah, there have been times where all of a sudden something that I created for something was used without my knowledge, and then it came back later on. In that case, it was like a decade later. Which is kind of funny.
Yeah, that it's odd where things pop up. Outside of film music, tell me about the stuff that you're doing just as for your own music, for your own stuff. What's where would you place yourself? How would you describe it to somebody?
What I'm doing right now?
Well, your past catalog, your most recent releases.
Well, for stuff that's been released, what's previously been released is just really nice instrumental music. It's guitar oriented. There are no vocals or anything like that. I've had a lot of fans come to me and be like, you know, this sounds like if Motown and Eddie Van Halen had a baby, right? Or
okay.
You know, if Leo Kottke and you know, he was playing with the Funk Brothers one night, you know, whatever. Like, you know, just the focus in the past was either on something that was extremely difficult to play, or something that sounded so nice that it was not easy to duplicate, right? Performance-wise. It's all about note selection and, you know, getting things to stick in people's heads, kind of like pop music. You know, I'm trying to make things that are popular, right? Today, I'm working on a death rock album, which is the complete opposite of that. There's extremely little actual guitar. If there's probably just rhythm guitar on the album. But I'm singing, so there are vocals, and the whole purpose of that entire album is completely different from anything else I've ever done in the past. It's horror oriented. I actually got started with it because of doing my stuff with the horror movies, and then, you know, being a fan of some of that stuff, I was like, well, what if I just did a whole album that way? And so that's what I'm doing now. I think I sent you some preview clips of a couple of the songs.
Yes, you did.
And that's that. That's much different from the stuff I've done in the past. It was Guitar Hero stuff in the past. Today, it's going to freak you out a little bit. And that's that.
The more rip and grind stuff now.
No. More like you're at a funeral that you don't want to be at. It might be your own.
Okay. All right. Have you ever thought of taking one of your older compositions and doing it in this new style just to play with it and tweak it?
No.
Just no.
No, I'm the kind of musician that like when you hear something that I've done, I wrote it and I recorded it and I performed it for a specific feeling and a purpose. I felt a certain way. Now I need to make you feel that same certain way, right? So, like, I'm not very creative. I wrote a bunch of songs that in the past that, you know, I wrote a song called Little Brother. Well, that was for my little brother. And I wrote a song, you know, called Lullaby. That was for my oldest son. I wrote a song, you know, I've written a bunch of songs that are directly aimed at certain things, and it's very clear that, you know, you can tell what they're about, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, that.
So this is not; these are not two schools of thought that I can go, oh yeah, now why don't I take one of my old songs and try and fuse it into the death stuff that I'm doing now? No, the death stuff I'm doing now is probably going to be a one-time shot. You never know what the future will bring, but what I'm doing now is evil. So.
what other sort of musical genres would you like to play with? Or is there anything that you haven't done yet that you want to see how it feels? Try on that suit and see if it works for you.
Yeah, actually, one of the next things I want to do is a jazz album.
Really?
That's going back to instrumental.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, but you can do some crazy stuff with jazz, and because it's just free and open,
Mm-hmm.
you know. I might want to do some more singing. Right now, I can't get an evil thought across unless I'm saying something evil to you. Therefore, the requirement falls in that I'm singing it.
Right.
Right. And if I can make it hooky enough, then you are also singing with me. Right, some really sick stuff, but you like the notes that are involved. So now I got you singing, things like "You're gonna live in your box now," and whatever. But you get what it's about.
Right. Well, don't we all live in our own boxes? Ultimately.
No, like I'm talking about like you're buried underground. I'm paying you to live in your box underground.
Right.
Then the box I'm talking about is a coffin, because that's where you're going.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, I guess that's a little bit on the evil side.
Yeah, it's a little different. But I've already had a couple of these songs. I'm not even done with the album. A couple of these songs have been used in a couple different movies.
Really?
Yeah. Cannibal Claus. They used a song called "You Need to Die."
Mm-hmm.
And then what was the other one?
Would it be "I Say Fuck It"?
No. No, that's not on the new album.
Okay.
That's not on the new album. That's got nothing to do with death or really making anybody feel any real pain that they really fucking deserve.
Okay.
Oh, we can swear on the radio, right?
Oh yeah.
I can say poop.
Yes, you can say poop. That's the reason I was okay saying "I say fuck," because I say fuck it.
No, like this new album's seriously. There's a lot of anger in this new album. There's a lot of evil in this new album. The recording style is different. The musical style is different. Anybody who hears it, everyone who's heard it so far is telling me I need to check into like a crisis counselor, like immediately. But they like the music, which is exactly where I'm going. Yep, just shut up and buy the song.
That's ultimately what you want. Is you want them to like the music and be a little disturbed by it. You know? Well, thank you very much for your time. Where can our listeners find your stuff and find out about what's coming out next and where you're playing, what you're playing, where you might be showing up, where the movies you've worked on might be showing?
Well, they can go to joebeckermusic.com.
Excellent.
Yeah, they can also go to facebook.com/joebeckermusic. Okay. But there's a couple other things I got to plug, man. You're not going to tell me that quick, are you?
No. Yeah, go for it.
All right. So I have to also mention a recent film that came out last year because the guy who made it, his name's Michael Wade Johnson. He's also part of the new movie that has music coming out, which is Leaf Blower Massacre 2.
Mm-hmm.
And his movie was Seller's Secret, which is actually based on a true story.
Really?
It's sick. Yeah, it's about this dude. His name was Joseph something. I think he lived in Germany or whatever. But he kept his daughter locked up in his actual own daughter locked up in his own basement for like 20 years or something, and had a bunch of kids with her and like whatever. She managed to escape. It's a really sick story. There's a ton of my music in that. There's Creakers, and that was by Steve Bailwitz and Michael Noel. And Sheriff Ringo, got to mention Sheriff Ringo, otherwise I'm going to get a slap in the back of the ears. That's the last movie I just got in my hands, a hard copy of that just came out. That is a sick movie. They waterboard this guy in this movie, jamming to my music, and like they're going to kill him, like they're killing him, like that's the next scene. It's awesome. You have to check that movie out.
I will.
And then
what's that one called again?
It's called Creakers.
Okay.
basically they have, it's like To Catch a Predator, right? And they have a sheriff, the local sheriff. He gets tricked into thinking that the local prostitute that he nailed is having a baby, even though she's playing a scam on him, and she needs money and whatever. Well, he needs money, so he gets one of the local child predators over to his house, gets his money, and then decides to kill him in the process. And the entire story, the way it's told, is basically like, some hillbillies like in Kentucky somewhere, in some weird little, portion of the woods where you have one bar and you have, 3 houses and whatever. It's sick. You have to see that movie. And then obviously, I'm going to plug a couple of my companies if I can real quick.
Yeah.
GHS Strings, Analysis Plus, Morley Pedals, Timberline Guitars, Kaiser Capos, GrabTech Guitar Labs. I couldn't do what I do without them. They provide me the gear that I need to operate.
You can't, it's like any other job. You have to have the tools in order to actually do the job.
Yeah. No, Analysis Plus, they recently sent me some cables, and like now everything I'm recording, like I used to have like weird like sounds in the background, like noise, from different, maybe sometimes it was a light that was way off, 50 feet away that I couldn't even see. Analysis Plus cuts right through that stuff. And they're one of the most flexible cables I've ever seen in my life. So like, I need this stuff. GHS, they give me guitar strings to play on. I need guitar strings to play on. I have I actually, for another legal purpose, can't say how many guitars I have, but they hook me up. The reason you get to hear me in the horror movies is because of these companies.
Yeah.
Right. So I have to mention them, especially if I'm on the radio.
One last question for you before I let you go.
I do have a 14-inch penis.
Okay.
That is true.
That. All right. And it's in a jar, right? Keep that on the counter? No, it's in a jar on the counter?
No. Yeah, no, I bought it on eBay.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, it's still in the mail.
I put it in the medicine cabinet sometimes. I don't know why. Anyways, as a fan of horror films and that sort of thing, what is the best, outside of your work, what is the best combination of music or song to gruesome image that you've encountered?
You know what, really, I'm going to say this, and some people out there are going to get a big head. Honestly, there was one movie that had like the perfect combination of the film plus the music, but the music was done by the producer of the film.
Okay.
And I so don't want to give them credit because of that, but they did do a good job. What was the name of the movie where the guy he wrote like a bunch of books, came out like in the mid-90s, late 90s, wrote a bunch of books, and anybody who read the book turned into a psycho.
Oh, In the Mouth of Madness?
In the Mouth of Madness is the best combination of horror movie and music that I've probably ever seen, personally. But I also understand that Clive Barker and whoever else was involved, they were doing the music. They were playing the guitar and doing that stuff. So they're great creators. They're going to make it sound right. I just don't like giving other people credit for stuff. So, but that's my answer, is In the Mouth of Madness. If you want to see a great combination of horror and the music that went along with it to support it, that's the movie.
Excellent. Of course, outside of the stuff you work on.
Right. Yeah, if you want to hear really good music with really good horror, listen to my stuff, because, that's what I do.
Well, thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your night to chat with me about horror movies, about music, about electronic gear. I'd love to have you back on sometime.
Excellent. I'll talk to you later, dude. Anytime.
Sounds good. Thank you.
We'd like to thank Joe for his time.
Yes, and we'd like to thank Mike for setting up the interview.
Yes.